What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Also, I'm a certified empowerment coach and president of Express Your Vibe Coaching Communications. But it's Wednesday night. Yes, we are back. Stuff is back with myself and Jazz Keys. We took a week off to just enjoy life a little bit, and Stuff is all about live online conversations about current events and culture from a black woman's and a black man's POV. So haven't seen Jazz for a bit. So Jazz, tell people a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Oh, awesome. So like yourself, I specialize in empowerment with an emphasis on love, healing, business, and parenting. I am the owner of Jazz Keys Coaching and Consultant and author of If We Knew Better. I am a clinical psychologist, speaker, author, coach, all the above, and of course the whole co-host of our Wednesday night show Stuff. And yeah, there we are.
And excellent. And mother of a lady who is boss. Right?
Yes, yes.
Good stuff.
Without doubt, she runs the show. So really, I'm getting ready to retire and just go full-time as mom manager because she's way ahead of the game.
That's excellent. Well, we have another special, I don't want to say guest, it's a special friend tonight. And a few weeks ago, I had her on the Dr. Vibe show, and she was so kind to send me her book about entrepreneurship. I'm just going to pull it out right here. My Boss Is Me. And I really enjoyed it, read it in a day, and had the blessings and privilege to have her on the Dr. Vibe show for a conversation. And I said, Jazz, we need to do a show on black women and entrepreneurship, but let's make it nice and special. Let's have yourself from the United States and our special friend here from Toronto, Canada. And both of you bring great perspectives, and our special friend Kike Odusanya is here with us, and to share and to care and add light to a lot of people's lives. Kike, welcome back, and share a little about yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Vibe. As you mentioned, my name is Kike Odusanya, and I am the founder of My Boss Is Me. I basically help women of color plan, launch, and grow profitable businesses so that they can position themselves to quit their 9-to-5. As you so graciously mentioned, I recently wrote a book. I haven't got used to calling myself an author just yet. I recently wrote a book. I also titled My Boss Is Me, that talks about real life. My real life experiences wrapped, that is basically a bunch of life lessons wrapped around in my real life experiences as an entrepreneur, full-time entrepreneur for the last 10 years. So I talk about, I call the book Real Conversations, right? Because it's a real conversation about what's really happening in the entrepreneurship realm, because I think entrepreneurship's become like a little black dress that everybody wants to slip on. It doesn't look good on everybody. And so I wanted to have a real conversation about a space that has become overly glamorized by people who are a small percentage of people who are doing exceptionally well. And I wanted to talk about what it really takes to be able to survive without a job for a decade. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of tears, a lot of good times, but it's a lot. And so I wanted to shed light on that from a real perspective, my perspective.
You know, and I'm gonna love this. I know this is gonna be epic, another epic conversation tonight, because I both respect these black women very much so. Both of them are entrepreneurs. Kike, as she said, she's been doing it for 10 years, and full-time Jazz is about a year. So you're gonna get two different perspectives. And this message is not just for ladies. I just want to emphasize this, because a lot of things that they're going to be sharing, whatever stage you are in entrepreneurship, male, female, are good life lessons. So I'm going to kick it off, and I'm going to get to our guest. And I know she can't give her whole story, because you know you can watch her whole story if you watch the rebroadcast of her on my platform. But Kike, what got you into entrepreneurship as a black woman?
I actually I didn't recognize it at first, but I've kind of always innately been an entrepreneur. I had always been dibbling and dabbling in side hustles. But in 2007, I found myself literally between a rock and a hard place. I had literally just escaped death after having given birth to my second daughter, 6 weeks later being diagnosed with a massive blood clot that numbed the entire length of my leg. And as you know, Dr. Vibe, I'm very tall, so it was a big clot. And I found myself in a position where I had a choice to make. I could either return to a job that I was very, very, very unhappy at, or I could take a chance. And I just felt like that chance, that time frame was never going to come again. And for anybody who's already had a job and has several qualifications, I just felt like, well, you know what? I can always get a job again. I don't know if this opportunity is going to be here again. And so me becoming an entrepreneur at that time was literally out of necessity. I mean, like you said, the story is very complex and there's a lot of moving parts, but to make a long story short, it was just literally out of necessity for my own happiness and to give myself an opportunity to pay back a huge debt I had incurred starting a company that I thought I was going to be able to grow while on maternity leave. But because of what happened, it didn't work out that way.
Excellent.
And I just never went back.
No problem. And Jazz, feel free, because I want this to be the ladies tonight. So Jazz, if you have questions, and I'm also going to jump in once in a while to get some thought process from both of you, but Jazz, certainly jump in if you'd like.
Yeah, no, I was just listening in on her story and just really reflecting on one of the things I'm sure that we're going to discuss at some point in time tonight, so I won't like jump ahead of it, but how oftentimes like women entrepreneurs, Black women entrepreneurs are balancing parenthood or motherhood with a job or attempting to transition into entrepreneurship, and how that's something that you never stop adjusting to as an entrepreneur, is trying to find that delicate balance between providing and, you know, being an example for your children, and then the time, and then running a successful business. And so I was just very fascinated hearing your story, and glad that you're here to tell that, and just kind of wanting to dig into that part that talks about that fine guilt balance between parenting or motherhood and entrepreneurship, because I think that's a heavy one that I deal with all the time. But then also, as I work with women entrepreneurs or women who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, that is definitely always a discussion, is balancing family and children with entrepreneurship and passion.
Yeah, I actually struggle with mommy guilt a lot. I have 2 children, so I have an older child who's going to be 23 in August, this month, actually. And I have one that just turned 10 in July. And with the older one, she spent a lot of time watching me trying to, like, quote unquote, make it. And so there's a part of my story where I actually kind of just took a break. And a lot of the during that time, a lot of the things that I decided on were to not compromise so much the time that I can't get back with my kids. Because I spent a lot, because like I said to you guys, when I first became an entrepreneur, it was literally out of necessity. I didn't have time to really think about anything. I was in a home, a matrimonial home that was purchased based on 2 incomes. I had just recently got over a great illness. I was trying to survive. And so I didn't have time to think about a lot of the things that you just mentioned. I was thinking about keeping a roof over our heads, right? And so I kind of just went to work. Black women are very good at that. We know how to get stuff accomplished. Yeah. And so it wasn't until maybe midway through me being an entrepreneur when a business that I was involved in crashed. And I started to ask myself some questions like, is this worth it? Like, if I don't actually get to where I think I want to be, are the choices I'm making, am I going to regret the choices I'm making now? And is it actually worth it? So I had to, halfway through, I started to adjust the way I do things. Because the whole purpose of becoming an entrepreneur. I always tell people money is amazing, but it's not about the money. It's about the options that the money provides.
Yes.
Right? And so I had to start doing things in a way so that I was taking advantage of the freedom that the entrepreneurship was giving me. So I decided that I wanted to do things like be at home to make breakfast for my daughter, right? Because there was a point in my career where I had a lot of nannies. Because, like you said, I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids. I have a baby at the time. And so what's going to happen? I had to find childcare, and I didn't really want to put myself in a position where I was going back and forth between daycares and stuff. So I got live-in help. And luckily I was doing something that could afford me that. But again, I was missing out on a lot of things. And I still suffer from mommy guilt, especially now. I'm at the 10-year mark. I'm now trying to make another transition, which we'll maybe even get into offline. And I'm constantly questioning, am I doing the right thing? But at some times I talk to my kids and, I explain to them. Sometimes I apologize. I'm not the stay at home, bake cookies, PTA going type mommy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
But I think my kids, they understand. And I think kids adapt to their environment. And I think if you keep a open, very transparent conversation going with your children, and they understand why you're doing what you're doing, I think that my children will just operate differently in the world. I had to stop. I'm very cautious about what I do these days, but I also had to stop feeling bad about it. I think my kids will see the world from a different point of view. I think my kids will also, have skills, certain life skills that maybe a mom that just stayed home and picked up their child from school every day and brought them to dance class wouldn't have. Like, my kids are constantly open to opportunities, and the way they think is just completely different than children their age. And so I think we have to relish in the good parts of what exploring entrepreneurship does in terms of exposing our children to a different way of thinking, being, and operating in the world.
Absolutely. So I think that is an extremely valid point, because I don't think that you ever stop dealing with, the mommy guilt. But one of the things that I've definitely learned and come to embrace and even appreciate is that exactly what you said is, if we lose the innate thing that we have that has us comparing ourselves as mothers to, the standard in which like motherhood has been impressed upon us, and recognize that we are doing parenting differently, but it also is going to plant the seed for different results, and none being worse or better than the other. It's just different. And so as I see my child be an analytical thinker and a problem solver and independent and cultured and, all these things, I recognize that it's because of me being a mother that's kind of pioneering the first generation of entrepreneurship, and how that's going to be influential to her. And so whenever I talk to other women who are entrepreneurs, I attempt to kind of impress that same thing upon them, is that that's so much more internal for us than it is anything else. And as long as we're still making that time, no matter how much it is, high quality, and ensuring that our presence is felt and that our children are kind of constantly being watered and nurtured by us, whether it be different or the same as, typical parenting, our kids are, favored by having a mother who is in the trenches of entrepreneurship. And so I think that's awesome to kind of get to the point where you can say, okay, here's what I've come to, and also not be afraid to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate the way that we're doing things. And so I've had those conversations with my daughter where I'm like, I'm sorry, or I stop apologizing, but I start explaining, like, this is what's happening. Do you understand? And then I started creating a business for her and letting her build her own dreams. And so now we kind of have merged, and now we get to travel with our books together. We get to do things, business-wise together. And so that's kind of how I started being able to kind of bring her into the cusp of things, is letting her support her own business and then me as well. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And another thing I started to do is I started to ask myself, are you doing your best? Your best.
Yep.
Are you doing your absolute best versus what you think the best looks like? right? Because there's a lot of moms that could be available all the time, but maybe are emotionally unavailable, or they are intellectually unavailable, or they're just taking up space. Maybe they don't, sometimes I told my older daughter, I'm like, your life could be worse. You could be Keisha Cole, I could be Frankie. Like, things could be worse.
Right.
So in the grand scheme of things, I know that what I'm doing is for it's not just for me, it's for them. It's for them to have a legacy. And it's afforded me the ability to do things that other moms can't do.
Right.
When my daughter comes home in grade like 11 and she needs like $3,000 to go on a school trip, there's a lot of kids staying home.
Right.
She could go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My kids have seen the world. That like their experiences are just different, and so I had to take solace in that. It's not that I'm a bad mom. I'm a different mom.
Yep.
Right.
And I got peace with that as well. Like when my 5-year-old daughter got her passport stamp, and she's been around the world, and she can tell people about like different parts of the country, and she's eaten in foreign places and danced in, soils that don't belong in the U.S. and she can talk to you about all these things. I recognize that I am, and being okay with saying like I am a great mother, although it doesn't look standard. And so I just really think it was really important to kind of get that point across to any women entrepreneurs who may be listening, because I know it's something that if you do have children or a family, it's something that I'm sure most can relate to, because it becomes kind of one of the top things that we deal with aside from just entrepreneurship itself. So
mommy guilt is real. It's real.
I feel bad that I'm interrupting this epic conversation, but I have a question for both of you ladies, and there's also a question from the audience, but I'll get mine in first, and the other one we'll get in a little bit later. When you're looking at the growth of entrepreneurship, the fastest rising segment is Black women, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation. I'd like to get from both your perspectives, why is Black women the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs?
You said we have 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, hey, it's up to you guys. You can go for a while. I know 45, but it's up to you. As I said, I'm just steering the ship. You ladies are driving the ship.
There are so many variables. Like, I don't even know where to start. But, well, let me just talk from my client's perspective. We have women who are being underpaid and overworked, that are bringing in millions of dollars for their companies. There are women who, because of, and you know what, a lot of Black women are I don't want to say overeducated, but extremely educated. And then the options that should be available to them in terms of jobs that they deserve are not given to them. Right? So here you are, a woman who's spent all this money to go to school, and now she's entering a workforce or a corporate environment where she should be able to utilize her skills, and she's not able to. So sometimes they're bored. A lot of Black women become entrepreneurs out of necessity. There are just too many variables that surround that topic to even
break the ice on it. Yeah,
there's just too many.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that we could list for days all the reasons, but I think in the boldness and the essence of this conversation, I want to say there's a lot of us who have started to recognize because we can. So being able to get to the point of recognizing that I can't get the opportunities that I know I'm worthy of in any of these companies. These doors aren't opening. These ceilings are coming down on me. I'm sitting in boardrooms with people who are not as intelligent as me, but yet I am supposed to be silent. All of these variables come into play: necessity, money, income, overwork, underpay, all of that. And then we realize, forget it. Like, if I can bring in millions of dollars for this company, I can turn around and take these same skill sets, the same, intellect, and pour it into my passion. And so I think what you're seeing is Black women realizing they don't have to give me a job anymore. I'll go create careers, And so it's just empowering to see it.
Excellent. Well, since I'm on a roll here, I'll get your thought process from a Black woman's perspective on these areas of entrepreneurship. Number one here, I've got the focus on profitability versus passion.
I feel like you asked that question earlier, and I saw Kike's face, so I want to go ahead and put that on the table for her, because I feel like her response was all there, and I wanted to save it for the show.
I just think passion is so overrated. I think the people that are lucky enough to actually profit from their passion are probably the same amount of people who know exactly what they want to do when they're in kindergarten. Like, it's rare, right? I definitely think you have to be passionate about what you are doing once you become an entrepreneur, but I don't necessarily think the things that you are passionate about are what will bring you money. Right. And I think especially with women, they're all about this. I need to be passionate, and this is not my passion, and my passion. Your passion is not always going to get you paid. Right. I'm passionate about a lot of things that I cannot profit from. So I think women need to be very careful about how they view passion and what that means, and what place passion has when you are trying to be profitable. Because the reality is, if you are going to be a full-time entrepreneur, not making money is not an option.
It is not.
I oftentimes tell people, you wouldn't go to your job for a whole month and be like, it's okay, you don't have to pay me. That's called volunteering. Okay? So why would you be at your business for a whole month and feel like it's okay for you not to make money? Like, I don't understand. So the thing about the whole passion, that word, I tread lightly, and I always ask for people to explain to me what that means to them. Because the reality is, passion does not always translate to profits. It very rarely does. And that's why a lot of women get stuck and feel like entrepreneurship doesn't work. It's because they're so passionate about something, but they haven't done the work that's required to find out if other people are passionate about it. Because you're not paying yourself. Right? Right? So put something out there and do your due diligence and make sure it's something that the marketplace is going to respond to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to piggyback on that for two things. One, I think what happens specifically with women is we kind of fall into this place of kind of being trained, whether it be society, whether it be, institutes, whether it be whatever it is, to think that like we're supposed to offer up everything we have, and that's a good sacrifice, and that's a good deed. And so when you enter into entrepreneurship with this idea that your skills and your talents and your trades are to be given up freely, you fall into the trap of you're running a charity now. And so when I've worked with women entrepreneurs, I've always kind of emphasized you can move with your heart and you do right by people, and doing right by people means delivering quality. That's your responsibility. And so in that context, you still get to move from a heart place, but we're not running a charity. And so when you can kind of understand that, that helps. And the other part about it is whenever I see someone dismiss the monetary value of their work, their service, their intellectual property, it lets me know that you don't value yourself enough. And so it's never about decreasing your asking price, never about not profiting. It's about increasing the value that you have in what you know you're offering, and knowing that when people see that value, they'll pay for it. And so I have to piggyback on that and say, no, we're not going into business to have to go back into the workforce. We're going into business to not ever have to go back into the workforce. And the only way to do that is to be profitable. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. This is good. This is really good. Just to pick on something you mentioned, Jazz, and I'm going to bring this to Kike, and Jazz, you can follow up with her. What about the importance to our Black women entrepreneurs about knowing your value? Kike?
Yep.
I think like with many things in the entrepreneur, I think like many things that you're going to experience along the entrepreneurial journey, fully understanding your value comes with time, right? You develop, I always tell people, the sense of self, your self-esteem, the person you become is uncomparable to anything else in the world when you are an entrepreneur. And I think that value that just comes with time. You have to, because no matter what, whenever you enter into a new space, there's always a little bit of insecurity. There are very few people that come out of the gate, they're bold and say, okay, this is what I know I'm worth. This is what I was worth in the corporate space. And this is what I'm, getting. Building your business and having small successes builds belief. It happens over time. So in terms of people getting to know your value, that only happens from putting yourself out there, taking a look at what's happened, measuring your results, and realizing that, hey, maybe this person, they gobbled this up a little bit too quickly and I wasn't charging enough. It comes with experience. So I encourage people to just have a monitor on their value, but know that you will become more comfortable and more aware of it as time goes on.
Yes, and when you do, it opens up a whole new floodgate. I think before I walked away from, my position, I had been in entrepreneurship on the side. I was one of those people that was building the side, building up that momentum, monitoring my progress, building up my value over time. Then it got to a point where it's like, nah, I know now. And so when that happens, the dialogue, the conversation changes, because once you are concrete in who you are and your value, then it really comes to a point where you can begin to ask for what you know you're worth out the gate and not settle for anything less. And then you also become more confident in building out your portfolio of services or products or things, because it's like, okay, I conquered this, I rock this, I'm ready to try this. And before you know it, you've gone out and attached new skill sets to your repertoire of what you already have, and you only become more and more invincible. And so I think that that's powerful. And one thing I'll encourage, and I'll just say it because we're kind of in this conversation, is get around people like the people that you're striving to be. Like, it's amazing to be around women entrepreneurs who can say, been there, done that, face that struggle, push through that, here's how you try that, or just great job, let's celebrate together. I think having someone who understands this journey is really powerful. So I just want to encourage anyone who's listening and in this field or looking to take this journey to do so. Absolutely.
Actually, I want to roll back a little bit in regards to the whole conversation you were having about profitability and passion. One of the things that many an entrepreneur will get to realize is that what you think you're good at and people think you're good at can a lot of times be two different things.
Yep.
So just leave that nugget there and let that simmer for a bit. I want to get both of you to talk and share about the importance of your resources and the support that you need to be an entrepreneur, because you cannot do it all alone. So, Kike, start off on that one.
Resources, well, let's start with people. Being around, like Jazz said, being around the right people that can help you stretch and grow and support you is extremely important. I personally have experienced business, what I refer to as the business blues, on more than one occasion. And it's a very real thing. You can, depending on what you do, you can spend a lot of time by yourself. When you're an entrepreneur, you're left to your thoughts a lot more often than you would if you were actually working. And so becoming depressed or experiencing the blues is a very real thing. And so it's very important that you go out of your way to position yourself to be around people where you can feel supported. And for a long time, I felt extremely isolated because everybody I knew worked. And so they would just be looking at me, or, they would look at me or make me feel like I'm crazy, basically. And so I used to isolate myself from them because I knew that I wasn't crazy, right? And I knew that I was going to get to where I was going to go eventually. So I never wanted to hear what they were thinking or what they had to say, or as far as I was concerned, they just didn't know because they couldn't relate to it. But that also had an adverse effect. So I would encourage people to join networking groups, even join Facebook groups. You'd be surprised at the support you can find socially online on social media. And surround yourself. You know what they say about the 5 people you spend the most of your time with, right? It's so very true. You still need your support network, like the person you would call if you have an emergency or your tire blew on the highway, and the people that love and care for you but don't necessarily understand you. But you also need those people who are not necessarily your most innermost circle, but a circle of people who understand your entrepreneurial struggles.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that entrepreneurship will teach you very quickly to be protective of your environment. It'll teach you very quickly how to keep your space sacred. It'll teach you very quickly who needs to be in your life and who doesn't. It's one of those things that forces you to really look at what's around you. And I've learned that over the last, 4 or 5 years, more so, just being very thoughtful about, like you said, the people who you spend your time with, the company that you keep. And so I would agree, as we're talking about resources and support, is recognizing that not everyone, especially if you haven't participated in this type of journey, will understand where you're trying to go. And so sometimes you deal with, no different than mommy guilt, you deal with not being able to attend certain things, not being able to be everywhere that everyone is, having to say no more often than not, but really just focusing in on, where you're attempting to go to. And so being open to explaining to those who you care about, even if they don't understand, being open to explain to them what this is and why you're so committed to it. But then also being okay with letting people go who begin to make you feel negative about kind of the journey that you're taking, is one thing that I've learned over time. And as far as resources, I tell people all the time, it's okay not to know something, but it's not okay to be comfortable with not knowing. And so when I think about resources as an entrepreneur, as a woman, in this entrepreneurial world, you have to be okay, or you can't be okay with not knowing something. And so to be resourceful means to constantly ask questions, to constantly be inquisitive, to constantly grow in your knowledge, to constantly connect with other people. And I believe that those things are really the empowering tools to kind of move you from one stage to another. So when I see women stuck, I often know it's because you've gotten comfortable with not knowing how to get to the next step.
Yeah. When you actually said resources, Dr. Vibe, I wasn't sure if you were talking about monetary resources or resources like what Jazz was just referring to. But I believe Black women are naturally resourceful. And I dare to say that because a lot of times we are put in positions where we have to make something out of literally nothing. We got 2 bad apples. It's like, which apple has the most bruises? Okay, I'm gonna make applesauce with one, and the other one with less bruises will turn it into apple pie. Like, they already have 2 bad options. None of their options are even good, right? And so from if you want to go all the way back and get real deep, all the way back to slavery, we are known for taking what another person could not survive with, could not get anywhere with, and do something miraculous with it. Not just turn it into something, but do something way above and beyond anybody ever imagined. So in terms of being resourceful, I think Black women are some of the most creative creatures in the whole entire planet. Mm-hmm. And I do feel that we do innately figure things out. We are we're very able to adapt, and we're able to figure things out. I do agree with everything Jazz said. I think that, you should never become comfortable with just not knowing or being ignorant about something, and you have to consistently educate yourself. That's number one key. It's top 10.
Right, top 10, definitely. Easy.
Right? Definitely top 10. But if you want to talk about resources in terms of money, I don't know if you guys want to go there.
Yeah, go for it. It's your lady's show. I'm just steering the ship, so go there.
A lot of times Black women, they don't get the resources that their male white or female white counterparts will be eligible for, right? And again, it's because oftentimes the things we're able to accomplish with what we have is literally just a miracle.
Right.
So I think that we do a very good job at bootstrapping and making a way out of no way.
Yep. I 100% agree.
Go ahead, Jess.
No, I was just saying, and if we begin to recognize the resourcefulness in our day-to-day life and begin to kind of strip that resourcefulness and break it down and say, okay, I'm able to recognize the problem, figure out my different options, come up with, means by any means, I'm able to pool resources from multiple different, if we can kind of take some of those concepts and apply them to business, then we can clearly, or at least be more clear in understanding that this entrepreneurship is something that is possible for many of us. And even in those places of struggling, if you can kind of reconnect to that, like, no, I came from nothing, I built from nothing, I'm sustaining from nothing, I have nowhere to go but up, and constantly refreshing that in your forefront of your mind kind of drives it during those low periods. And so I think that was powerful for you to kind of bring that back home. Thank you, Kike.
Kike.
Okay, I know, I got it. Look,
right.
we were worried about her and Dr. Vibe. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's all good.
Okay,
so let me go on to our next conversation piece. Two-part. The importance of mentorship, and what do you two ladies individually, what are you looking for? What sort of qualifications do you look for when you're looking for a mentor? So two-part conversation piece, the importance of mentorship, and what individually do both of you look for when you're looking for a mentor? Kike?
Mentorship is everything. Mentorship basically makes visible the thing in your mind that hasn't come to fruition for you yet, right? And when I'm looking for a mentor, I basically look for somebody who is living the life that I want to live. I look for somebody that is reachable, but far out of my reach.
Right.
If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I always look for people who, I feel understand me on a cellular level. Let me explain what I mean by that. I've worked with other mentors that I know they didn't get me. I know. I found out after working with them that they didn't understand my struggles. They didn't understand some of the things that were very real for me. They would never even be able to begin to think about some of those things because it's not their reality, right? Like, I'll give you an example that has nothing to do with, but everything to do with. So I'm actually in Georgia right now, and I was trying to get something off of Craigslist, and I was going to a part of Georgia that I had never heard of and I had never been to, and so I called family to ask them, is this a safe place for me to go? Because I'm in the South. And the reality is that there's places that are just an hour or two outside of Atlanta that are not safe for me to go. And so those are the things that certain mentors will never, ever, as I was driving, I was thinking, wow, like, privilege is a real thing, because there are people who would never, ever think about this. I'm driving somewhere with my daughter, and I'm having to stop and think about my safety. So the reality is, when I don't work with people who understand me on a cellular level, they really are not able to, I don't feel like they're able to effectively mentor me in certain areas of my life. With that being said, depending on what I think, you can have different mentors for different areas, right? With that being said, there are some things that are universal that, it doesn't necessarily matter who you are mentored by, but if you have somebody that understands your struggles and where you're really coming from, it makes all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. And another thing I want to say is people, I think a lot of people misunderstand mentorship. Mentorship can be two things. It can be free because you've been lucky enough, or you've actually done the work to put yourself in a position to be around somebody that has taken a liking to you. You've put yourself in the spaces that person would go, mm-hmm. and you've maybe reached out to them, you've, tried to strike up a relationship, and they genuinely want to see you grow. But mentorship is something you can also pay for. And if you can't find that dream mentor that you're looking for just yet, and you do need a free mentor, then, sorry, I'm saying three things. So if you can't find that dream mentor, you can be mentored by, virtually by people you admire. There's so much information available on the internet right now. There's no reason for you not to receive mentorship. But I want to encourage entrepreneurs not to be afraid to pay for mentorship. Pay somebody who is where you want to be to help you get there. Because I'm telling you, if I knew about coaching and mentorship and a lot of the things when I started, it would have saved me a lot of money, tears. I cried so much when I became an entrepreneur for those first 2 years. I don't think a day went by that I didn't cry for the first 2 years. I'm talking like hardcore crying. And I'm not even a crier.
Right.
I was literally no, my friends will tell you, I'm a G. I don't cry that much. I realized all those tears was a result of me shedding the person I used to be.
Purifying.
Somebody new. It was I was literally going through a rebirthing process. But imagine if I had somebody to say that, you know what, that's normal, or this is a part of the process, or don't worry too much about this because this is just how it goes. And I went through that. People are so afraid to invest in themselves. And I think sometimes their expectations of what they're supposed to receive in return is all wrong, because you can't place a price on the value that somebody who's gone before you and the wisdom that they can instill in you or share with you. You can't place a value. You can't place a price on that. And some of the best mentors I've had were both free and paid. It just really depends on, depends on what you've done to position yourself to get that mentorship. A lot of the times people reach out to me and they're like, can you be my mentor? Who are you? Number one. Number two, how is this going to be a fair exchange? Right? People have to understand, and I teach people about approaching people or reaching out to people if you want them to become your mentor. Do your research and find out what you can do for that person.
Right.
First, if that person is going to take time out of their busy schedule, can you pay for breakfast? Right? It's amazing how much people expect for nothing.
For nothing.
Right? It blows my mind. And if you think this person's so amazing, why do you think they have an extra time to just sit and listen to you talk about what's going on in your life?
Yeah.
How is this? How is this equally yoked?
And I really feel like what she's saying is a result of entrepreneurship. You get to that point in entrepreneurship where you have to draw those lines that say, I don't have the time to listen to you just talk about your life. I'm willing and open to receiving either some type of fair exchange, or if you're willing to pay for the services, then we can move a little differently. But entrepreneurship will make you kind of really draw those lines, because people do want so much for nothing. And so I'm really glad that you brought that to the attention, because it's one of those things where it's a constant fight until you just kind of get to a point where you're like, all right, it's strictly business.
Yeah. I've learned over the years, I always heard the cliche that time is money. Mm-hmm. And going back to the whole mommy guilt thing, I have learned that time is not money. When you, Dr. Vibe, and myself are no longer here, Benjamins will still be getting printed. Okay? Yes. Money will still be being made, and we will be gone. So the most valuable thing that I have is my time.
Yes.
And so I've become a very good steward of
my time. Properly.
And even this year, 10th year in entrepreneurship, I implemented, if you want to speak with me, I need an agenda. So many people reach out to me, oh, I would love to speak to you. Okay, what would you like to speak about? Complete silence, no more typing.
Yes.
Okay. You want to speak about this? Okay, what's the agenda? Where do you want to meet? What time? Like, there's no thought put into how am I properly utilizing this person's time. So basically, I have a rule now, and this came from one of my mentors. If you don't have an agenda, we cannot meet. I
am going to adopt that yesterday.
If you don't have an agenda, we cannot meet. I don't care who's at your house. I don't care who's meeting us for lunch. I don't care. I need an agenda. And it's funny because every time I give that, there's been one person this year that I've actually, out of all the people that have tried to meet with me, that has been able to give me a semi-agenda. It was after I asked her for one and she went back and then she kind of came back. But nobody even thinks about that type of stuff when they approach you. But with me, not only do I demand that, but I have it prepared when I reach out to somebody else, because I realize if you don't want to respect my time, then I have to respect my time and teach you how to respect my time as well. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. And so the same way I expect people to respect my time, I go out of my way to respect other people's time.
I love that.
Right. And it makes a huge difference when you go to somebody prepared in that manner. Mm-hmm. It makes a huge difference with the way that person receives you. It's just like when you go to networking events. They say, I think there's less than 3% of the people that are going to follow up. When I go to a networking event, let me tell you, I am the follow-up queen.
I write notes on the note on the back of the yes.
Okay, you know what? Hold on a second. I'll just before you interrupt, because I know you ladies are on flying. I'm just going to say shout outs to Sharice Taylor and also to Stephanie Joseph. Actually, Stephanie Joseph has 3 questions. She has actually 3 questions. You're answering one of them now. But you see, Kike, and I mean, Jazz, you see why Kike wrote the book, My Boss Is Me? She's got that boss attitude.
I have to get it. And I have to send you my book, Dr. Vibe. I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely. But at Kike, I just to step in here, I fully agree, because if you're an entrepreneur, if you don't take yourself seriously, why should anyone else take you seriously?
Nobody will.
Right. And
that's again, that's a result of growth.
Yep.
Especially because my first 5 years in entrepreneurship, well, more than half of it, I was in network marketing. And so there's a lot of meetings going on and people are always trying to connect.
Meeting about meetings.
Meeting is about meetings and booking a meeting from a meeting. And I got caught being basically misled to showing up at meetings that I didn't want to be at. Right. Right. And so from enough of that happening, my sense of awareness became heightened, and I stopped allowing people to misuse my time, because this time, especially after I hit the last milestone birthday that I just had, I realized that time is really of the essence. I'm not playing anymore.
Well, and one of the gentlemen who's been on my platform for years and years, one of the first things he said on one of my shows, I'll never forget: time never lost a fight.
That's deep.
You know,
nope.
and I share that with people. and
I know it's starting to whip my head.
Yeah, and like when I say that to people, about 90% of them go in freeze frame. They go, whoa. So definitely, you can't buy it back. You can't get it back, and it doesn't matter if you are, I'm going to say, Richard Branson, Kike, Jazz, Dr. Vibe. None of us can buy time back. Not even Jeff Bezos of Amazon can buy time back.
Okay.
It ain't happening. So, Jazz, did you want to add on? Because Kike was on fire for the last few minutes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think she kind of nailed the mentorship element. I can be honest and say, as I've transitioned from balancing corporate and entrepreneurship and then into full-time entrepreneurship, I have not been as adamant about seeking out mentorship on my own behalf as I have been to accommodate others in their mentorship needs. So it kind of triggered something in me to really recognize it. And I know back when I was in my psychology program, they said every psychologist needs a psychologist, every coach needs a coach. And so I was conscious of it, and I have a paid coach. I have a paid coach who I work with every Friday morning on my business, and that's more supporting me and kind of getting clarity on my next steps in my business. But in regards to mentorship, I think I'm at that point in my growth where I want to sit next to women who have earned millions and women who are conquering, and I just know that it's that time to sit across the table from those types of women, or women who are like fighting through and 10 years strong. And so I really appreciate the mentorship component, because sometimes you can get so swallowed up in trying to accomplish your goals and trying to move. And in those first couple of years, you're just caught up in trying to sustain. And so I think it's extremely valuable to access mentorship, to grow from your mentorship, and to know when it's time for a different mentorship. Or, you know, as she mentioned earlier, she said, you know, you can have them for different things. So whether that be your spirituality, whether it be your finances, whether it be, you know, your livelihood outside of this, I think it's important to know that people who have journeyed this before you, like she said, comes with so much wisdom, and you can't pay for that. And so I'm right with Kike, as she said, I would just love to have someone tell me, oh yeah, it's normal to get the blues, and it's normal to cry, and it's normal to, you know, be concerned about how you're going to sustain from this month to next month, or this day to the next day as you begin in entrepreneurship, because that would have saved so much. And so I'm definitely an advocate for mentorship across the board.
I know that we've run a little bit over time. Can you ladies give us just a few minutes more? Kike, can you give us a few more minutes?
Sure.
Okay. One of the things I share with people when it comes to failure, I say that failure is a moment. Failure is not a person.
No.
I like that.
You know, so it's very important. So the last few moments, we're going to try to tackle some of Stephanie Joseph's many questions here, which is fantastic. One of the questions she has, and either one of you, if you're open, transparent, she's asking, what have been some of your failures and what have you learned from them?
You don't have enough.
Did you see both of our faces?
A lot of my failures are in the book.
Yes. Yes, there you go.
A lot of my failures are in the book too.
There you go. So no, buy their books, people. Buy their books.
Yeah. No. Just to kind of bring that question back full circle. I think that one of the things I've learned in this voyage to entrepreneurship, and now through entrepreneurship, is that you're going to come to some low spaces. You're going to start some things that don't quite fall through the way you want to. You're going to lose some money. You're going to have to go back to the drawing board a couple of times. You're going to have to reinvent yourself, rebrand yourself, recreate, grow, learn. And when you become comfortable knowing that it can be rocky, or it is rocky, until you kind of find your wave and coast, that's really more important than knowing exactly what it is knowing that, you know, your job is to fight through those things. Your job is to stay connected to your vision. Your job is to stay true to yourself and to move forward in your business despite those things, because they're coming.
Yeah. And to be completely honest, the day I decided to accept failure as a way of life, as an entrepreneur, my life changed. Because failure has a negative connotation. It's not a negative thing. Failure is an experience that helps you to learn. It helps you to review, refine, and revise.
Yes.
Okay? And so every time I fail,
came back better.
Well, most of the time. But I actually take the opportunity to sit back and ask myself what I can learn from this, so that number one, I don't repeat that and go through that painful period again, and so I can come out on the better side of things next time. Mm-hmm. But I think failure should be more embraced than it is, and I think that if we change the way we look at failure, we would, as a society, we would benefit from it so much more.
Right. Yeah, I always tell people not to leave any experience without gathering up your lessons. And so if you can stop, like she said, and be reflective and recognize that, okay, this happened as a result of X, Y, and Z, and what I'll do differently next time is X, Y, and Z, then you've done your due diligence to that experience. And so I also have always used that as motivation. So when I say come back better, is when something doesn't, you know, manifest the way in which you envisioned it, or something starts in collapse, or however it may look. For me, I've lost my business one time, had to come back. It becomes the motivation. And so when you can push past like the initial sting of feeling like you fail, learn your experiences, you only become more motivated and more driven to execute better and build on a more solid foundation moving forward.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's something I share with people. I say that they say, how are you still going on? I said, the reason I'm still here is because I failed more than you. And I kept on going, you know, and I tell people, right, fail forward and fail fast.
Yes, it's so important. It is so important.
You know, and if people want a good book on fail forward, there's a great book written by a gentleman named John Maxwell called Failing Forward. I highly recommend everybody read that, because we're going to have failures in our life, and it's how you handle them. They're going to happen. It's how you bounce back from them and move forward. That's going to be actually, which is very important for entrepreneurs, part of your story.
Resilience is one of the most, it goes up there with those top 10 that we talked about earlier. You have to be resilient. Your bounce back has to be there.
Absolutely. Because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, people look at how we've succeeded, but they don't know the story of what we went through to get there. And a lot of people wouldn't want to go through what we go through on a daily basis. Oh, thank you. Whitney Gray says the John C. Maxwell book is awesome. Thank you so much. I received that. Ladies, as we just wind it down, Stephanie has one small question. They go, if each one of you had a piece of advice to someone just starting out, what would it be? Let's have our guests go first.
Ooh.
I think the most valuable lesson that I have learned over the last 10 years is that you need to stay in motion. One of the things, I think one of the hardest lessons I had to learn was I had got to a time in a period in my business where I was literally exhausted. And instead of taking a little break, I took like I checked out for way too long. And that's like when you've been going to the gym actively and you quit. It's a lot harder to get started again, right? If you had decreased your gym days from 7 days a week to even 5 days a week, 3 days a week, even if you went to the gym 1 day a week, if you wanted to increase from that 1 day a week, it would be a lot easier to get yourself up and going. One of the places I really went wrong, I hate to say went wrong, but one of the things that I actually wish I didn't do this, was I stopped for a long period of time. I kind of was just in a place where I had some residual income coming in and I just checked out. Mentally, physically, I disappeared. And when I realized that obviously, you know, I was going through something, I could have handled it a bit differently. Again, you know, if somebody was there to tell me this, somebody did try to tell me, but she told me in a way that it didn't really click until afterwards. Perhaps my break would have not been so long. But one of the most valuable things I can tell you is that you will need to rest. And you will need to maybe check out for a week or two, even a month. But don't ever check out so long that you will be starting from scratch, because it is the hardest thing you will ever do in your life. Slow down and rest, but don't quit.
I agree.
That's my advice.
Jazz?
Yeah, I call that the retreat and recovery process. Like sometimes you got to pull away, but your recovery has to be, you know, quicker than what you retreated, because that's what happens. We check out sometimes, and that's an absence of self-care that eventually we just shut completely down. Right. My advice would be jump off the cliff and build the plane on the way down. And I say that in the context of one of the things that I've learned in the entrepreneurial space is that if you live too much here, I say until we clean this up, this becomes the most dangerous place you can live as an entrepreneur, because in here you say, I'm not qualified enough, I'm not ready, I don't have it, who's going to receive it, what about finding, you know, here becomes the place where you corrode your brilliant ideas. So I say I just jump off the cliff, build the plane on the way down, because as you're in motion on the way down, by then you're pulling your resources, you're finding the tools, you're living by any means, because you're so close to crashing. And so I just tell women, jump and figure out how to build it on the way down and stay out of here. And so once you begin to execute, and once you begin to see, okay, that wasn't too bad. All right, I did that one. I landed, I didn't crash. You become more and more confident about taking that leap. And so that's my advice.
You are absolutely, I just need to piggyback on that.
No, go
I
ahead.
had a conversation last night, and you are absolutely right. Action cures fear, and it prevents self-doubt from creeping in.
And then once fear is gone, once
you're able to really execute.
You're able to really, really execute. And so that just becomes my thing, is like, you know what? I'm just going to jump.
There you go. Well, you know what? I'm just going to add on to what these outstanding Black queens have just said and shared that as Jazz says, as I say, and I put it another way, sometimes you just got to jump off a cliff and grow your wings on the way down.
Oh, yeah.
You know that, like, there's that old song, Fly, Robin, Fly. You got to fly, Robin, fly. And my piece is, I'll put in another piece, and I agree with both what they both had to say, but remember, you didn't come to the world by yourself. So don't try to do entrepreneurship by yourself.
You can't.
No.
You cannot. I don't even subscribe to the whole self-made. I don't say it. I don't believe in it. You can't do it by yourself. It's impossible.
And I'll be honest, too, that I've seen this happen with some entrepreneurs. If you try to do entrepreneurship by yourself, it may kill you.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Absolutely.
I had to undo that thinking. And once I let go of this idea that, like, okay, I can figure it out, I can do it all. Once I let go and let those who really want to help, I got some assistance. I partnered with the right people. It's just been amazing. And so I 100% agree, is to open yourself up to realize that, you are going to need some support. And the more that you grow and the more you move, the more you're going to need. I call them earth angels. I call them supporters. I call them, ambassadors. I call them friends, family, whatever. It helps. And so I definitely agree with that.
And just to build on what Kike was saying, you need some time to rest. Rest is part of the journey. And get rest. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of yourself. You're not going to take care of your business. If you're a Black lady and you're an entrepreneur, you probably have a family. You won't be able to take care of them. Please take care. Get sleep when you can.
Please learn that the easy way. He just gave you that. Like, don't learn that the hard way. Like, I had to learn it. Like learn it the easy way. Just take it for truth.
Right? Like, these ladies have something that all entrepreneurs who are just starting out, they have evaluated experience. They have the experience, and they've evaluated it, and they've come back even better. So we're just going to leave it at that. So, Kike, first things first, we'd like to thank you for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you've been outstanding, and I knew you would be, and you just
thank you for having me.
You're just
amazing energy. I feel like I got to get up and get on my $1 million strategy tonight. It's 9 o'clock, but I'm like, I got to get up and get working. Amazing energy. Thank you for being on the show.
So, Kike, thanks again. If people want to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
I am all over the interwebs at My Boss Is Me, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. They can also visit me at my web home at www.mybossisme.co.com and contact me there. I'm very accessible and easy to find.
I have to go order my book.
And not my name.
Well, it's absolutely fantastic, and it's interesting because Kike is based in Toronto, but tonight she's in Georgia. So it's a truly international conversation with Black queen entrepreneurs, one from Toronto, one from Rockford, Illinois, and it's been outstanding. And Kike, I'm going to put it out there. Hopefully, in the next few months, we'd love you to come back because you have so much thought process and so much wealth to offer men and women, not only who are Black but colors right across the rainbow.
Absolutely,
and it's so appreciated. Jazz, if you want to get any final words and contact information from you.
Yeah, no, I think this show has been phenomenal. I, too, thank you so much for joining and for being bold and transparent and pushing forward in entrepreneurship and teaching others how to do it as well. So I will be visiting one of those pages to get my copy of My Boss Is Me, and of course following up afterwards. But thank you again for being on the show. You can find me on any social media platform at Jazz Keys. I'm pretty simple: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or you can visit my website www.jazzkeys.com. And of course I am on every Wednesday night hosting stuff next to this great guy. So Dr. Vibe, that is all I have.
Well, thank you so much. First, I want to thank Jazz and again Kike. I'd like to thank Cherise Taylor, Stephanie Joseph, Whitney Grace. Stephanie Joseph, you are on fire tonight. That's FIYAH. Thank you so much for help, all of you, for making the conversation tonight epic. If you want to get in touch with me, best ways are either the website address www.drvibeshow.com. There's Twitter at drvibeshow, email address dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. Also know I'm a certified empowerment coach, president of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. If you'd like to get a complimentary 30-minute session with me, contact me, because I believe the more empowerment you have in your life, the better life you'll have for yourself, and almost as important, the more you can help in a positive way others with their lives. If you want to catch replays of my epic conversations webcam wise, go to the YouTube channel. We have 211 now subscribers in the last 2 months, which is thankful. People like lovely queens like this and lovely people are making it happen, so we appreciate that. Don't take it for granted. Audio replays, website, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher Radio. Selective conversations are also on the goodmenproject.com and also wjmsradio.com. Also know I'm a brand ambassador for Cuisine Noir magazine, the only African-American magazine online that's dedicated to African-Americans in food, wine, and travel. I always like to say, you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and you're a solution for someone's problem. And one last thing, I feel very humbled tonight because when you bring two people together who have never met each other before, and I just was in my heart that this would be outstanding, and it's surpassed my expectations, and I'm speaking it, they will keep in contact with each other for...
I'm about to follow her on Instagram.
There you go, for days and years to come. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I do. I like to bring people who have right hearts together, and this is one of those moments. So ladies, I have a tear in my heart right now of joy because of moments like this. This is what I've been what I've been doing for over the last 10 years. So on that note, last thing, remember, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. God bless, peace be well, and keep the faith. And thanks for watching live and on the replay, and check us out next Wednesday. God bless.